If
We're live.
it is not here, I will be very disappointed.
We are live. Welcome back to Whiskey Wednesdays, right? With three of us knuckleheads.
The Whiskey Wednesday show.
The Whiskey Wednesday show. We still didn't come up with a jingle. We don't have a jingle yet, but we'll get there. We're still just learning the ropes.
Yeah.
We need more production value, I think. A little catchy, intro maybe. Can we do that? I don't know if we can do that, but
I think I think we have to do that. It's a must.
Kick it up a little bit, right? A little pizzazz. Never hurt anybody. Showmanship.
You guys want to start off? Let's kick off with what's everybody drinking tonight? What is the beverage of choice?
Bradley Baker, the dance move maker. What are you drinking?
I'm still on the same bottle of Bullet Rye.
The Bullet. Good stuff.
Here.
There's a little bit left.
My wife's drinking more than me.
Nice.
But over the diagonal block of ice, cool little mug here, cool little glass.
Where did you get that glass?
I think my wife got it for me for Christmas.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the connoisseur there, Bradley. Dig it.
E, what are you?
I'm working off the 1792.
How is that?
Pretty good, actually. It's pretty good.
Good.
You never had it? Kentucky straight Bergman. It's not bad. I mean, it's okay. It was like $40 a bottle. It's not super expensive, but it's really good. So
yeah, that stuff's okay.
A big ball ice.
So,
finally figured out how to do that. So
the Woodford.
You got the Woodford, the Big Daddy. Is that the Costco one?
Oh yeah, off the tail end, off the Derby. Woodford, the proud sponsor of the Kentucky Derby.
Is it really? I did not know that.
Oh yeah, big time, huge. I don't know. I think I have not found one for the value to beat it because it's smooth. It's so smooth.
Oh yeah.
Right. No, it's great. It's good for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll just jump right into it. So what I think starting with the fiasco that was today in terms of markets and the panic with various markets, but including crypto, I think was a big one today, right? Everyone freaked out. I know that I freaked out first. I wouldn't say freak out. That's kind of a weird term. I'd say the first article I read this morning about Coinbase and their issues and the whole freak out about if they declared bankruptcy, then where'd all the crypto go? And they would say that, that people would lose their crypto. So of course, immediately I transferred everything out of it. Not that it was much, but I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm not going to goof around with this. Let's just, the very minimum investment that I have.
How many people
you guys have
did that?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I wonder if there'll be a run. But you guys have been harping on me to get a MetaMask wallet and all that stuff. So I was like, might as well do that now and shift over.
Right.
So.
Well, in that article,
thing.
That article was talking about like having a hot wallet and a cold wallet. So I don't know that I even know the difference. I know the difference in the theories and the definitions, but I don't know if I know the differences in the technologies.
But
well, that's the underlying thing, right? Was that everyone was freaking out because they had to release this information. It's like the way the guy made it sound was it was a standard SEC release that they have to say. But I think no one really heard anyone in crypto say it that way yet. Yeah. So it was like, well, what do you mean it's not insured? It's like, well, of course it's not. What do you think? So like, what were you thinking?
That
the problem was that they was like, well, that sowed doubt in the technology, and the reality is, even if they went under the tech, you technically still have the Bitcoin, right? You own the code, you own that address, but the problem is they're like a retail shop for people to the lay people to understand how to get into it. So you go through them, they simplify it, they give you your login and your password, and that's how you have access to those.
And then your wallet address is associated with Coinbase. So if Coinbase goes away, so does that address.
Yeah, you're messed up. Like you lose that conduit, that go between, right? So we were talking about that earlier today, which is like, it's just people would lose the ability to easily access it, right? And I don't think anyone really understands it well enough, at least the people that were getting into it on that retail side, to really know how do I access this without this middleman.
And so
and that's kind of where.
Let me ask you this, Eric. Where did you transferred from Coinbase to what wallet?
MetaMask. I transferred from Coinbase to my MetaMask wallet.
So now
I'm still trying to figure out how to do mine.
Further, and transfer your money to a hard wallet, to a hardware wallet,
Like another one, like an alternative.
like an actual
like a USB
drive that you plug into your computer that has the address.
I don't know.
And
Honestly,
is
guys, I
that
don't know.
safer?
I'm the biggest novice to this.
Well,
I
and
thought
I'm trying to figure that out, and that's what moving forward we got to figure out.
I consider it a victory just to be able to get the money from one to the other. I was like, well, that worked. It cost me like $1 or $2 to do it, but I was like, okay.
Right. Well, and I think, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think that you just went from hot wallet to hot wallet.
Correct. Yeah.
And so there's another step that you can take to be a good digital citizen, and you would transfer to a cold wallet, and that would be a hardware wallet or something, and another technology that I just can't name.
Well, because
I think the
best practices would be to have a little bit of scratch in your wallet, right? Like maybe 200, 250 bucks. But then, and then you would deploy your tranche onto your cold wallet, your whatever your main investment is. I think that's the best practices.
Right.
And then if you want to move it, if you want to make a move, you move from your cold wallet to your hot wallet, and then make your purchase or your transaction. But then you pull it back down. This goes even in NFTs and all that stuff as well, right? You want to maybe have a couple of your NFTs on a hot wallet, but you can transition those into a cold wallet. And again, a cold wallet is where it's not attached to a browser, right? It's off. You can pull it offline.
Well, and so is that Coinbase then? Because Coinbase isn't attached to a browser.
No, you can attach your Coinbase wallet to a browser.
Okay, that's different. There's Coinbase, and then there's the Coinbase wallet too, which is two different things. So I think what this all kind of comes down to is that I think there's still such complexity in the process that the layperson, there's going to be quick fear there, right? So if like a little bit of chatter like that, everyone's going to panic and be like,
yeah.
So until that becomes ironed out, I think you're going to get a lot of this kind of volatility in people making moves. I did mine as a joke. I mean, I don't have much in there, so I wasn't panicked like, oh my God, they're going to make it. I know the difference. I mean, no, they're not. I just was like, it was a trigger to do something I was supposed to do a while ago anyways. And I'm still trying to figure out how they all interact to begin with. So for us, it's become more of a study piece, like an educational tool to like kind of learn the intricacies of that, so we can then articulate it to people that don't know it as well. But yeah, it certainly is fascinating. But it was the idea that that people were not, that didn't realize that it was like not FDIC insured. Like you should have we were talking about this morning. It should be a. I guess I would just encourage people that it should be more like play money at this point. Like, I mean, we're not like billionaires, right? So for us, the investment that we put in there isn't necessarily, a crazy amount of money, because we really are learning as we go. Now, I'm not to say that I'm discouraging people from doing it, but, and some people do a lot. Some people get it, understand it very well, or willing to take those risks and really want to see the benefits of that. I'm risk averse in general. So, I'm kind of still doing it just for the sake of figuring it all out. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm not worried about it. Like, I think I was joking with you. I said, do we buy the dip, right? Like today with everything that went down, like that, I still think it'll continue to grow over time. I'm not worried about it. Any of those, at least Ethereum and Bitcoin, like the main ones, right? The value is going to continue to be there. I'm not smart enough to go into any of those one-offs or the smaller, cryptos that, I would say are more volatile, right?
Yeah.
But
so I mean, they're really baseline the same technology, but they're maybe less policed, like on, there's a lot
remember the purpose is to be decentralized, right? I mean, you don't want government agencies, you don't want banks, you don't want regulation. That's the whole purpose.
Sure, but people also want safety nets, and they also don't want the average person, right? So that's the difference, right? You're going to get the fringe. I hate to use the word fringe, but you're going to get those people that are that like the DeFi, idea, right? That they're like that they are out of the government's reach. But then when things go wrong, they're going to cry foul. I mean, the mainstream people are going to cry foul when that happens. They're like, why didn't I have protection? That's the whole point, right? But you also need to have more responsibility for that, those keys, let's call them, right, to that money. And
because it starts to come into the fact of, like, kind of what we were saying, is it now, it's a security. It's it's people are expecting, is the hope that when I put my US dollars into a cryptocurrency that I expect a return on investment. And that's
well, but maybe you're willing to accept market volatility.
Yeah.
But not like just bankruptcy or things with like companies, like things going kaput for crazy reasons. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like I think they'd accept that it's going to maybe drop value a little bit, it'll increase it. So they're going to play that part, but they're not going to accept the, like all of a sudden overnight it went bankrupt, because it was a glitch in the code or something like that, and all of a sudden it's worth zero.
And I think I know the answer to both of you guys. Do you believe that this is the growing pain, very painful for some people, right? We're not trying to. Obviously, some people put a lot of money into this, and they're feeling it. They're feeling the pain. I would say that across all markets, though, right? There's a lot of pain going across. Everything's attention is on crypto, and rightfully so. But look at the.
Well, that's the other thing. As goes the markets, so goes crypto. Right? I mean, it's kind of like that's the whole point. It's not like the markets did great today and crypto tanked.
Right. Exactly. So. Question to you guys: do you believe that this is a part of the process because of where crypto is in its state? I mean, or do you believe that? And I think I know the answer, that crypto is pretty much on its way out, and that it's a proof that it's not going to work.
Well, look, I like where we were last week with the idea of that it is that's analogous to like kind of the .com boom and that kind of stuff, right? And the advent or the major adoption of the internet and kind of online shopping and all that stuff, and how it kind of was great out of the gate, then it stalled, then it picked back up again. I think that'll happen. I think it'll get sorted out, and then it'll continue to fly. I think from our perspective, when it comes to digital marketing and how we incorporate that into our funnels, I don't see anything but upside on that, because I think of the utility factor. Again, we're not in it. We're not driving our clients. We're not working for clients that are just solely in it for the collectible aspect, right? We really are trying to make them have purpose and value and work for us, honestly, as much as they have kitsch value. I mean, there's like, it's a tool more than just a collectible, in my opinion, the way we use it. So I think that's part of what I think will make it go the distance. And it may change, right? There may be, the craze may cool off to some regard, but again, it's fad based. Those things are fad, like the collectible aspect ones are fad based, right? So that's just going to be whatever's currently cool and buzzing, right?
Yeah.
I think that the ones that are like, if you buy this, you get this, and you can use it for this, and you can do this with it, more than just, hey, it's a picture of this. Okay, that's cool, but I just don't see it. I think that's nearsighted, or that's limited, I think, in what the potential can be for. I think what we're coming from and how we use it for marketing is another funnel, right? It's another lure. It's a way to say, hey, you can become part of this group, and we're going to give you benefits that are going to hopefully increase your spend with my product, because you feel like you're getting something out of it. And it's to do with brand ambassadors and brand affinity, saying that you have ownership in it, right? I don't know if we talked about it, I don't remember if we talked about it, but it was about the idea of, I think we probably did, about owning stock in a company, right? It's a stock that gives you something back, and because it does increase in value. So that's how I think. That's why I don't think it'll go away. I just don't think it goes away.
So let me ask you guys this then: if we're talking about crypto world and NFT and metaverse, and we know, I think we all would agree that it's going to be another way to sell products and to promote brands. It's going to be another sales channel, another marketing channel. But if I brought to you a brand right now that was already established, doing well, and I had X amount, I had $15,000 a month to spend on marketing, would we want to point people towards an NFT project at this time? Or what's hot right now? We know that 2 years ago, we were crushing Facebook advertising, and that's not happening anymore. And we would point pretty much everybody to that. But now, what are we pointing people to? Are we pointing people to email marketing? Are we pointing people to Google advertising? Or are we pointing people to these NFTs?
Yeah, I think search is still huge, right? Because and search, and then those aggregators online, like an Amazon type situation, where those one-stop shops for products, I think are still huge because of audience. I think that I think an NFT fund. So I think it is rewards program based, right? It's not about the money you have to spend. It's about the audience that you have, right? If you have an audience, a built up audience already, I would steer you in the direction of NFT, because look, you got them. They're here. Like, they're already buying your product. You have an email list with 30,000 people. Let's offer them something. Let's offer them this thing, because they're already buying your product, right? So let's give them something that we can then control and get them. I hate to use the word manipulate, because that's not really a great, it's not a friendly word, but that's the point, right? It's that you get something and then I get something out of it too, right? I mean, it goes both ways. So, and to use the casino analogy, right? The house always wins. Like, you want to set it up in a way that you're going to hopefully see long-term returns from these people. And that's the idea. Now, that's fair, right? I mean, it's the nature of business, right? I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's unfair to say that. I think it's about, do they get something out of it though? And the value that they're going to get. And that's the thing that they hopefully, if there's an audience, again, right? It's all predicated on an audience, because you need to have desire for someone else to want that NFT too, if you want to see it increase in value. So, I think that as long as you have an audience around, you can give them something they want. I think that's something that makes sense. If you don't have any, then you got to go hunt for your audience. Then you got to hunt for those people to then sell them the NFT. So that's a different dynamic.
I think it totally, and Brad, I think what you were saying too is the question was, if you're already well established, right? You're well established, you've already got other marketing streams rolling in. I always look at really realtors. The first thing, what do realtors want to do? They want to stop taking in the Zillow ads, because it's their most expensive cost, right? But if they turn off Zillow, then you don't have any
flow.
You turn off everything. So, assuming that this brand or this company has their back end data, they do a good job communicating with it already, because we would implement almost the email SMS strategy before even pushing them into NFT, right? So warming them up
to build up that list.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just what it is to Eric's point, it's another revenue stream. It's another asset to where it's a layer further down into your audience, that you can ask them to be more part of your brand, and in attunement, it's going to be another revenue stream, and everyone can ultimately win, right? Because you're giving that community additional features, utilities, right? What we talk about all the time, benefits, and in the meantime, you're able to obviously monetize those NFTs and that customer over and over and over again. So,
well, and also interesting from an operation standpoint, that's the other thing, right? It's the operation that goes into running an NFT collection is large, right? So it's not just something that you turn on and say, okay, I want to run ads like NFT. It's not the same as turning on ads, right? You have to have, in essence, a whole other infrastructure in place to create it, to manage it, and to run your Discord channel and to manage those. It's almost, so that's the thing too when it comes to investment and amount of like the money available to run it, right? So you have to use some foresight and say, well, okay, I'm gonna have to employ someone or pay someone to manage my Discord channel, or I got to do it, which is going to take a lot of time. That's just Discord channel. For those that don't know, is it's like the group chat, right, for everyone that owns an NFT of yours. And that's where they communicate, they vote on stuff, all that stuff. But someone's got to moderate that and run it, right? And someone's going to put together your giveaways or put together your whatever your sales programs are. It's kind of client. It's in essence, it's an analogous social media manager, right? It's a completely different beast from whoever's managing your Facebook, your organic Facebook, your organic Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever, right? On a day-to-day. So if you're doing that for your business already, great. You got to double that then, in essence, and do it all over again now, or at least not necessarily double it, but certainly have a button, a chair that's going to sit there and manage that group chat, for lack of a better word, moderate that group chat. So there's an investment that goes into it. So really, it only does make sense if you have the audience in place already. Otherwise, you've got to spend the money to build the audience. You're doing double work, really.
Yep. Yeah.
You're trying to build an audience from nothing, and then you got to try and sell to them, or get them. And they're most likely then they're brand new to begin with. So you have a whole other set of challenges in terms of how you get them to buy your NFT, right? And that goes into the whole philanthropy-based component to it, and that's a marketing issue too, a brand building and marketing issue. Is okay. Say I started with a brand new business tomorrow, right? I'm selling widgets, okay? I got these great widgets. I got my website built. I got my brand going. We have the online sales. We started advertising for it. Wonderful. Okay. Well, I want to start a rewards program. Well, do you start a rewards program on day one when you don't have any people buying your product? Well, to do that, you have to get clients first, right? You have to get people to buy your product. Then you have to get them into your rewards program. And now you're saying, I'm going to also try and sell you something else to get you to be part of that rewards program versus a client that exists that has a 30,000 person mailing list, right?
Yeah.
So it does work, but it only works for certain people. That's, I guess, a really long conversation around. But it is great. I love it. I think it's a great. And I was the biggest naysayer. I'm still a naysayer to a certain degree. But as far as a tool for people that have that audience, it's great.
Yeah. I just realized why I drank 2 glasses of whiskey last time. It's because Eric talks the whole time. But what was interesting about that and having to segment all the pieces out with the NFT project with your different people that moderate different platforms, Fanzo, the guy who buys a NFT every day, he was saying the other day, he's like, I Googled an NFT. I was looking for an NFT and I Googled it. He's like, I was so stupid. And I'm like, what? Why can't you Google NFTs? And it's, why? I mean, why would
Tell
you?
us why.
He got scammed. He was looking for a popular one and Googling it and got into the wrong website and totally got ripped off.
Well, I think very similar to what's going on now, what we've seen. I believe it's happened much faster. But if you remember the Web 2.0 and really the social media advertising, when that all came on, there were so many scammers, right? And really, I go back to the industry that I cut my teeth on was the trial industry, and it was bait and switch, right? Hey, try this. Only pay for shipping and handling. And then 15 days later, you there an $88 bill. If you're lucky. Otherwise, it's $170 or $180 bill, right? And then you can't cancel it. And there was nobody to contact. And very similar to what you have now is kind of like the rug pulls. It's a much more complex, and it just goes to show how far the internet has come, how far civilization and humanity have come over the last 10, 15 years. But it still comes back to you're going to have scammers in every industry. And is this working itself out much sooner than it did? Because that went on for years. There was, still going on, I believe.
Yeah. And you got to be a good digital citizen, right?
Correct.
So yeah. I don't know. I didn't know that you shouldn't Google NFTs when you're looking to buy. And Fanzo's point is you need to go to Discord and go to the project community, and that's where you build from and get your links. And so it's a whole nother piece to learn.
And I think the next thing, sorry to cut you off, Brad, but I just wanted to say while you're holding that thought, the biggest thing that you'll see is doxed versus undoxed owners. I believe that projects, especially the projects that don't have, let's just say brands, right? A brand that's got the trust of 10 to 15 years is going to have much better chances at success versus one that's just starting out of nowhere and it's literally ghosts.
Right. Or like Madonna.
Yeah.
Or like Madonna.
These projects.
How many people fucking love Madonna and want something coming out of her vagina?
Well,
okay. So here we go. Here's your analogy. Think it back to when online purchasing started, right? like you never knew who you were buying from. Like that's what that's why all the accreditations people still weigh heavy on, like on my website, on my website for my e-commerce. Like I want to have a Better Business Bureau accreditation. I want to be VeriSign and all these things, like all these accreditations at the bottom, because in the way back when in the 90s, 80s, 90s or early aughts, I like using the word aughts. So, they were. You didn't know who you. I mean, were you afraid to give your credit card online? I mean, I know it was kind of like, okay, if I'm doing this,
totally, I was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Your
And
friends.
now, dude, yeah, now it's like ubiquitous, right? I mean, it's not even that. But like, you
now
like
you
link
just
your bank.
You watch out for your in-laws.
In my browser.
You're the ones that are putting their credit cards online now.
What was the first day you linked your bank account to another thing? I mean, that's the other thing. Like that, those are things that like those are major leaps forward in trust, right? And I think that we're, this is kind of taking it back to that infancy of web payments, which is like, do I really trust this person? Do I know what I'm getting into? And you hit the nail on the head, like a Google. Yeah, of course I would Google search for an NFT project, but then it's like common sense. You have to start figuring out, well, I'm sure they're actually very good at convincing people they are legit, but you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, you're totally right. It all goes back to digital citizenship. And you know what? The different generations of digital citizens are very different from our parents to, say, the high schoolers that I taught digital citizenship section to. And how you should save your passwords, how you look up resources, that sort of thing, and
who to trust. I mean,
as we go into this new age of Web3, the people generations that are younger than us are a lot more, I don't want to say careless, but they're carefree.
Well, they never had this doubt sowed in them, right? They were never brought up with, don't trust the internet, right?
Totally.
Like, identity theft doesn't even faze them. They're like, I don't care. Like, I need to have access to all these things, so I'm willing to give out all these things, right? And I could be crazy. Maybe they are being smart about it. Hopefully people are smart about it. But the reality is, I think they see themselves as let's hope they have firewalls built in place. But online, I mean, at the end of the day, you only have so much. That's the other thing, is that, think about online banking and things like that too, right? At the end of the day, we do trust a lot of our identity theft, and all that. We trust all our personal information on the internet, but it is, there is some insurance, right? There's some insurance that at the end of the day, I have a channel that I can go to deal with this, right? The courts, the federal government, that kind of stuff, right? The minute you get into decentralized finance, it's like you're on your own, man. Like if something goes wrong, there's not much repercussion you have, right? And I mean, again, I'm coming at this as a novice to a certain extent, but for the layperson's perspective, at least, that's the case, right? Is that you have to be able to, if you want to play in that field, you have to kind of accept those risks, I guess.
Yeah. Well, right, exactly. What's Brad doing?
I don't know what Brad's doing.
Oh, there you go.
You gonna just roll on it? Is that what you're doing? Okay, this is.
Yes.
You're gonna get some core work in while we're doing this. You couldn't wait. You couldn't wait 25 minutes.
So obviously these are the pitfalls. I think, and so my assumption, my hope is that if anything else, this is working itself out much sooner in the process, and it's early for us. I mean, some people have been doing this since 2017, right? But back to
but I think we realized that I mean, hey, I think we were pretty close to being on the forefront of figuring out how to start trying to implement this from a marketing perspective and a digital marketing perspective.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that a lot of people were into it, but I think, and I credit you guys with that, because I was the one you had to drag kicking and screaming. But I think that the idea, Zach and Brad, to have the foresight to be like, we need to try and figure out a way to apply this to our clients and really leverage it for them. What's the next thing? And this goes back to our roots, for a lack of a better word, in terms of starting way back at the beginning, the fundamentals of branding and print design and those original advertising kind of channels. The limitations to print and out of home, and then broadcast and radio, and it's like, okay, as we get into more advanced communication methods, digital media, that kind of stuff. I think you guys are like, look, we got to keep pushing forward. and we got to cover seeing how these things can be leveraged. And I think I want to always keep coming back to this digital marketing idea, which is that, how do these things, this isn't like a crypto NFT only discussion. It's more about the idea of digital marketing and what does that mean going into the future. And I think that.
Well, here you go. I mean, right, Eric? I mean, just to segue off of that, we've been saying this last year. 99%.
If you would, good sir.
Let's sell NFTs, right? 1%, let's use Web3 technology to connect with like-minded people and build an everlasting brand together.
Yeah, so it's that membership program idea. It's that community aspect of it. And now you have an invested community, people that are like, I've paid into this, like I'm a part owner. And it's more modern than stock owning, right? It's more progressive than that. It's more community based. And that's why I think it's so cool, is that it's not about just owning a piece of said company. It really is more about the interaction with them, you know what I mean? And the kind of communication with them, because the very nature of it gives you a direct conduit that you wouldn't necessarily have, and a more casual conduit, I guess, maybe. You don't have to go to like the board, the annual board meeting to sit in the crowd and raise your hand and say, hi, I have something to say to, the chairman of the board. You're talking
you can or you can't.
It's almost like a cross between Twitter and a board meeting, right? And a stock ownership meeting, because you do own you own something that has value to them, and you're also communicating in real time with them. So I guess that's really kind of a cool kind of concept there, if you think about it in those terms, right? So it gives you that one-on-one.
Imagine if Adidas spun off a new company, called it like Adidas U, and it was all through the metaverse NFTs. So everything's gated through NFT access and is decentralized, and decentralized to the point where everybody that holds an NFT or is part of the DAO has say on products and even design. So Adidas U could be coming up with a whole different thing over here with the power that Adidas has in their manufacturing and their distribution. And so you could have all these Adidas fans over here at Adidas U creating their own brand, kind of moving Adidas in this direction that this community of people, of Adidas fans, wants it to go in.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with authenticity, right? So in essence, it goes back to here we go. So if that's our audience, right? If our audience is that demographic, right? The people that are more likely to own NFTs, to engage in cryptocurrency, now you're engaging them and saying, look, you not only can be a part of that, but you're going to have input in our product. So really, it's like, talk about solidifying that, that brand ambassadorship, right? And I think that it's just, authenticity is the word. It's like, it just becomes your product gains from it because it's legit, and people are like, oh yeah, you got it from, your audience. In essence, your clients or your consumers decided what you were selling, right? Rather than just like, workshopping it or doing focus groups. You're literally you're the focus group. It's like an active focus group. Exactly.
Yeah, I'd want to be part of that brand.
So let's talk about metaverse.
Well, and before we go to the metaverse, let's bring it to where we are with everything right now. And I think we have we're working with some brands right now that I think we can go totally build onto a decentralized website. And not for the purpose of being shady, but for the purpose of mixing Web3 and crypto technology with regular e-commerce.
Well, explain what you mean by decentralized website for the audience of one.
So decentralized, let's take it then to decentralized hosting. So right now you have a hosting service where you put up your files on GoDaddy.com. and you have a registrar with GoDaddy.com that also points all of the domains and the DNS to that server. So everything's running through this third-party server. There's also the IPCC that controls all domains, the government entity that oversees it all. And so at any time they can say, hey, so-and-so, whose domain is this? They can check with GoDaddy, and GoDaddy can point it to this website and say, okay, we'll shut it down. So with decentralized hosting, it's a network of a family network of computers, just like the blockchain, that shares all these files and pieces of these files. So, it's a lot like, it's real similar to when we were ripping off music. Do you guys remember that? What was that?
Napster? The old Napster days?
What is it?
Napster, LimeWire?
Napster.
Yeah.
And so it's the same technology where there's pieces of files on thousands of different computers that are all sharing it on the same network and bringing it together on your computer to share, to be one complete file. And so if you take one server out of the mix, they can still complete the file. So it's a family network. And so and so you can also register your domain name on the blockchain. So if you registered your domain name on the blockchain and you put up all your files on a decentralized family sharing network like pinata.cloud, then everything's decentralized. It's not connected to the normal domain registry system that we see on today's internet. So in that case, I would like to try to build out, a WordPress site, a Magento site, a Laravel website onto these decentralized services and see if it'll run like it would run on GoDaddy. And if it does, can we run an e-commerce shopping cart on there? And okay, we're running our shopping cart, normal USD dollars, we're checking out. All right, so every dollar that's spent, boom, now you get a cryptocurrency coin pushed into your digital wallet right there in your browser. So then it's starting to bring all the technologies together. And I know that's happening, but I don't know that it's happening all decentralized right now. And so, that's where I'm excited to take it into that whole world and have a purpose, not just to be like shady kind of black hat decentralized, but have a purpose and a utility for it.
Well, it's funny they say like the black hat thing that shades, because I'm like, at the end of the day, like most technologies are kind of created and adopted through nefarious purposes, right? Let's just call it that. I think ultimately, like, that's where the internet kind of grew from, right? The seedy kind of underbelly of what people's base desires are. And then it rolls into, that's probably the first, I bet you that was the first online probably, transaction, you know what I mean? Like something that was not like untoward, let's just call it that. And so I think that, if that starts, I hate to piggyback off of it, right? But people, human behavior is human behavior, right? And we talked about this last time, and I'm such a downer on people. And my expectations of people are so bad.
Somebody probably paid for the sex tape of Anna Nicole Simpson back in the 90s. That was the first transaction.
Yeah. And that's the so I think that if we can trust that people are that bad, then maybe then they'll use this technology to help promote it to the point of it being ubiquitous, for lack of a better word, right? And really just help kind of get it out there and people trust to start using it. Because I think through those behaviors, they are more likely to be guarded and secure with, or firewall, let's say, with their purchasing. So they maybe were willing to take those kind of risks than the average person. And then as that whole thing kind of works its way out in the wash, eventually people start to go, okay, well now, they've kind of kicked the tires, right? And they've had it kind of tested through all that stuff. So it actually gets a little more mainstream. And then then your mom and dad and everyone can start kind of buying things through it with a little less fear, because some of those things have happened, I think. And that's the other thing. It's like, what do you guys think this is a question for both of you. What do you think what's the timeline on this? Like, what's the timeline on it being regularly adopted?
5 years.
5 years, you think?
I would think maybe even half that. I think it's gonna
I'm still like a 10-year guy. Like, I just think I think it's gonna be a slow burn. I think it's gonna be a slow burn before it becomes fully, like, I think there's got to be something, right? I think there's going to have to be like some sort of watershed moment. Like, okay, going back to, I think I don't remember what we talked about. The virus, the pandemic being a trigger for work from home. Okay, right. This is something that was building for probably at least 20 years, right? The technology was there in the 2000s. I mean, you could have video conferencing, right? It existed, right? It just was never even a thought in people's minds, right? They were never willing to have meetings that way. Everybody wanted face to face. Right? And as time goes on, people get a little looser with it. But it really took that experience. Now, that was a really one of a kind, unique thing. But you see, it's like these kind of giant leaps forward in evolution, right? To a certain extent, which is like, boom, all of a sudden now we had no choice. So let's invent and let's kind of come up with a way to make it work, and we did. So what's that next? Here's the question for you. What's that leap? What's that trigger that
Here's my only
to take over?
The fall of the Federal Reserve.
Is that although the technology existed, it wasn't in everybody's hands. You still needed.
Well, okay. So was it a perfect storm of bandwidth, connectivity?
Now I think you have the connectivity. Everybody, the technology's there. Everybody's got access to it. I think your leap is much.
So you think
shorter.
it's more like this kind of curve, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, now we're getting here. Everyone's got a phone in their pocket. Everyone's got internet access. Why? You just got to learn technology, and all of a sudden you're off the races.
Yeah, I mean, what took longer? Did it take longer to build the Model T or to build the, I don't know, a Toyota? I mean, it's like,
yeah.
I think once the humanity, civilization has hacked that code, for the most part, man, everything just goes light years faster. In my opinion, I think it's gonna go really fast, and that's why I'm even saying that's why we're seeing this crash so early, because so many people got in much faster on crypto and NFTs, and then again, it's still a very small community, all in all, but I think the transition will be much quicker. Look at Starbucks. Look at these big companies, McDonald's. I mean, all these guys are moving there quick.
Yeah. I mean, the McDonald's thing with the trademarks is
this stuff is moving.
If you want to put a
well, that's a good segue back to the metaverse, right? Which is like this creating this environment in the metaverse in terms of what that means, and we had read, there was that op-ed that we read about, the guy was kind of pinging on all the things again, with my negative view on humanity, and about, animalistic basic behavior for humans. Like, what does this mean when we create this metaverse? Like, what's really going to happen? Like, what are people going to use it for? And what is it going to mean for the rest of
good and evil,
the day-to-day, right?
It's going to be very similar to the world. I think it's going to be good and evil everywhere. And it's going to come, I don't think you can control it. I don't think you can manage it, because just the black hatters are always going to find a workaround anyways. There's always,
it's like once you open the box, right? Once you open the box,
open
the box, but like once you open that box, it's like you can't put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. It's like it's out there. And then it comes to a company like a Facebook who's doubling down on, that article was about how Google has won kind of the Web 2.0 race, right? The search, they've connected everyone, right? They search, what was it, like 4 billion or something like that? Maybe it's like 3 billion people have connectivity through Google, or something, like some crazy like number like that, where it's like that's the reach it has. So they've clearly dominated that whole concept of tying, because before, you see, when the advent of the internet was, you have all these disparate websites, right? But they created the web that kind of really connected and allowed it all to be part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. And so now Facebook is like, well, we've already lost that. Like, let's focus on the next step, which is this metaverse aspect, which is, creating this kind of alternate reality in essence.
Did you
and
see
dominating that.
They're opening up their first store.
Facebook.
Yeah, you can
totally go with the Apple model and have the store where you can go in, put the goggles on.
Oh, for the VR thing, for that Project Cambria or whatever it is, the new
Meta store.
Where is it going?
I think it opened in Los Angeles, probably.
Well,
but
reminds me, there was a great freaking.
But that's smart too, right? So now here, let's give you don't have the vehicle. Like, okay, like I'm not going to invest in Oculus goggles or any of that kind of stuff because it's not. But like, if I had a store down the street, maybe I would go in there and be like, I'm just going to test it out. And that's how you hook people, right?
Facebook has teamed up with Lens Crafters. They already have a contract, and Oakley. And so they're going to be in Lens Crafters. They're going to have their glasses. It's going to be kind of like Google's glass.
Can I show you guys this?
It's going to be a lot easier to try out.
Well, for sure, right?
Look at this.
And I think, I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it would be cool if my glasses were had if I could see data in front of me.
Hell yeah! I want it in my contacts.
Right?
Well, check this out.
That's the whole. I mean, I'll never wear contacts, but geez, even that.
I found this ad.
Yeah, but what if they had a heads-up display, Eric? Would you wear contact then? I don't even get this. Is she going into a storefront, like a store in the metaverse?
No, it's like real life. It's like, oh, this is AR. This looks like it's augmented reality kind of thing. Or is that metaverse?
I mean, yes. How cool is that?
Okay, it's AR.
Oh, so like what you see, like what it looks like in the metaverse or something? Are you buying it?
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Is that her in real life, or is that her in the metaverse?
It looks like that was a real store where she was then seeing what the product looked like in the metaverse. Interesting. Well, that's a very fascinating concept because it's like, again, it's like that's like Minority Report too, right? Where you go in there, like they go in the mall and he's like, "Hey, Zach Schaefer, welcome back to the Gap. Last time you bought these khakis, would you like, new ones?" And that's, I mean,
I feel like we got to go back and watch these sci-fi movies from even 10, 20 years ago with Minority Report.
Minority Report just scans their eyes and then it shows
their eyeball. Yeah.
How about Total Recall?
This would be like, right? Yeah.
Total Recall is so cool.
Oh man,
that's pretty close. That's
the original one, not the crappy one with what's his face. With the one with Arnold.
But what's crazy about Total Recall is, you guys know this, right? In the beginning, it could be his dream while he's at recall, or it could be what's really happening.
Exactly. Yeah. It was the Matrix before the Matrix.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Well, the Matrix.
Because when he lays back in the thing, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, the issue again, so kind of like before we get off track, like, the issue of the metaverse and kind of how that has to do with marketing, right? It's really going to be about, I think, the same principles that we're talking about with NFTs, which is this brand activity and kind of, the interaction with the brand in like, okay, I'm going to buy your product in this world, right? It may not be, I don't know, who knows what the cost is going to be. I mean, maybe it's not as expensive as buying a pair of shoes. Like going back to this thing we're just looking at, are those the shoes in the metaverse? Like, is that like you can go to a store and scan and pick or is it AR, right? And that's another cool concept, which is like, what if everyone's wearing the same glasses? I mean, here's a question. Let me riddle you this: if everyone's wearing the same glasses, okay, and we're all in the same AR world, okay, which I think this is a cool idea in the metaverse, which is you wear a shirt that's like a green screen. If we're all living in a green screen world, right? What if my hat is green, my shirt is green, my pants are green, right? And whatever I pay for in that world is what projects, like what you see I'm wearing. It's not about what I'm actually wearing, it's what you see I'm wearing, right? So I went in there, I just re-upped and I changed my shoes instantly, right? I'm wearing a pair of shoes that fit me comfortably no matter what, but what they look like to you is different from what they are on my feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and think of how crazy this gets.
That's more likely to happen, I think, and more tangible and legitimate than a fake world.
I think that's your 10 to 20 years, Eric.
Yeah,
honestly,
I like the AR.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Because we've already known that, right? That's that Pokemon thing where they're going around with the AR camera and all that stuff, right? So now the difference is right now it exists, right? It exists right now. Let's just say you could use your phone and walk around and be like, okay, I'm watching the world through my phone. But that's the difference. The minute this becomes these, then it's now real time.
But then it becomes a contact.
Yeah, that's the next evolution. Right? That's again a continued evolution of the same system. But that's it. And that's you can go from here to here to there.
Yeah, and then it's a chip in your brain.
And then it's the neuroreceptor.
100%, Brad. Exactly.
I mean, that's where it's all fucking going, people.
Because that's exactly because now it's going to go. Hey, instead of us having Whiskey Wednesday at our homes, we're in Montana.
Well, okay, but let's take I mean, I don't want to get that crazy out there with it. I just want to look at if you look at it more of a tactical kind of right in your face way. Like that's just a simple way to say, look, you can change what you're seeing in your world. Like it's not, I mean, it's not like you won't be able to look. I mean, I guess you could just blatantly see something else completely, but it's more about that's in your day to day. Like I see that my walls, I wanted them. It gets there's a level of what it can be, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to have would have to be some sort of either reflective surface or something that's going to give you that kind of ping on this is what I'm replacing, right? I'm replacing that with what is here, right? So,
and maybe it's just a paint that you paint your walls.
Well, when it gets to neuro, think about this though. We're going to be able to go, hey, let's meet Gary V in Times Square, and we're just going to talk, and we're going to be able to have all of the followers. Everyone's going to be able to watch and witness it and comment and blah, but we're going to actually feel, see, hear everything that's Times Square. All of the advertising is not going to be, the billboards aren't going to be just a Nike billboard. It's going to be a billboard that's associated to you and what your giant billboard in Times Square could be different from mine.
Well, that's the same principle, right? That now you're talking about, you're going the extreme step of like quantum mechanics and quantum physics in terms of how the brain, like how you're dealing with the brain and just telling the brain what it wants to see, and not even, I mean, then you can get into the idea of what's reality and what's not reality and all that stuff. But
somebody should do a movie on it.
But I'll meet you halfway and say that, look, again, with the glasses, right? Let's just start with the glasses. It's simple for everyone, so it's not like it's a real big reach. If you have the glasses, which we know are on the horizon, what if I walked into Times Square and the billboards and everything are programmed so that my glasses see what you're saying, which is ads that are projected specifically for my eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's a much easier understanding because at the end of the day, it's just a reference point, right? It's a reference point for them to say, in this space, you're going to shoot, that's where that thing gets projected, right? It's just like any other kind of visual mapping software, which already exists. It's all about the things that, it's like taking the things that exist now and turning them to monetization points, which are CGI and green screening and that kind of stuff, right? Which is that in essence, at the end of the day, you're saying, look, in real time, you're seeing this. Now it all has to do with computing speed and things of that, right? Processing speed and all that stuff. So I guess, there's a lot that goes into it, obviously, but certainly it's not far-fetched or hard to imagine that that's on the horizon.
Right.
Now again, I want to try and circle everything back to our core purpose here, which is, ultimately what do we do and what is our value add? But it's like, how do you take the small, how does that affect small businesses or even, medium-sized businesses, right? Can you play in that environment, or is it out of reach? And what, in your opinion, guys, how do you take those concepts? Okay, this is the big one. This is the big brain ask for the end of the session here. How do you take those concepts and apply them to smaller companies, right? The mom and pop or the medium-sized company, right? That doesn't have tens of millions or endless amounts of money to throw at these technologies. Where do those get applied in a smaller scale situation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always going to be an investment and a leap with the trust of technology. And so that's going to be the hard sell for us to onboard these clients into the space. But once they get in, you almost turn the philanthropy back towards the brand, to where people, like we were saying, are are committed to being part of the brand and a community so that you're almost raising funds through there to progress the whole brand.
Well,
but
mm-hmm. I was going to say too, I don't know if I'm freezing here. I don't know why. Where I feel that, back to really the first building block on this Web3 technology is these NFTs and these tickets. So if you're a mom and pop, I think of cold beers and cheeseburgers. I don't know if you guys went there, Eric, you guys were out here, but they've got 6, 7, 8, probably more stores in the Valley. They've got a couple in California. They're expanding, but they're from Arizona. What a perfect investment for them to make, and to start to have like a NFT for all of their local. You just say you get different deals every month or specials, or you get the all-American cheeseburger in perpetuity as long as you hold the ultra rare NFT. They can all be scanned from the wallet on your phone.
Right.
That's where I feel like that's going to be the shortest and the smallest leap. I feel like a lot of the small businesses. Is everyone going to be able to make this step?
But Zach, going being devil's advocate on that one, why not just set up a normal membership program?
Well, I think because you believe in the evolution of where everything's going. That the membership programs are kind of I would ask, how successful is your membership program right now? What's your email open rate? How many people are coming? Are you doing an SMS marketing blast? If they're doing all those things first, and they have this raving community, then I think your next step is to naturally go, well, how about you start offering your raving fans a stake in your business, right? And you do that through special offers and content and events, right? I mean, and this even goes into what Mark Cuban's doing with the Mavericks. They're going to have every ticket is going to be an NFT of some sort. And when I think, Brad, when we were first talking about this, we thought that was a really cool idea. But when you really start to peel the onion on that, I mean, dude, free hot dogs for the NFTs that have Luka Doncic on it on Wednesday night.
Well, I think, Brad, I'm going to cut you off. I got to cut you off. I'm going to jump in here. So I think the reason why an NFT, right? I want to make sure we hit this point. The reason why you do an NFT is because it's you can adjust the offers on in real time, right? Constantly, which I know you can do with an emotion. However, there's equity involved in it in terms of the value of the NFT. So therefore, you can make it so that the NFTs gain value based on the amount of product sold, right? So therefore, over time, each NFT has more value associated with it. And then I can come in and buy one of those if I want. So the demand changes, right? So there's always a value. Now, and also as an owner, you're going to get a percentage of that value when transactions happen, which doesn't happen in a regular rewards program. So, there's a lot of opportunity for the business owner to continue to make money off of that program, regardless of just straight up sales. So I think that's why I say it's like there's a value there, and I'm super excited about it. And I think that's why it has great value to even the smallest of companies. The issue goes back to, it's not about whether or not it's the right move. It's about whether or not you have an audience in place already that you can leverage. Because if you don't, there's more. It's just that thing. There's the cost of doing business is higher if you don't have an audience. If you have an audience, no brainer, much better direction. There's investment there, but the returns are greater. And you have the ability to not only continually to make money off of that card through transactions and through meaning sales and resale market on that card itself, the NFT itself, but you will continue to get, again, lots more opportunity for flexibility and again, that ownership component to it. So your rewards program members are already invested in your brand.
Yeah.
So I think there's no question that that's a much better vehicle than a traditional rewards program. So
I like that. Well, here's to you, boys.
Here's to you.
So before we sign off, we have to go through our current events, our memes of the week. So hold on, and
there were plenty of them.
Hold your horses. There were plenty of them, as I'm pulling them up here.
I think, you know what, the funny thing is there certainly will never be a lack of things to talk about every Wednesday, because as we said, this is all something that's happening in real time. And I assume that, you know, for any of our listener, you can make sure you give us any notes on if we're repeating ourselves. One of our listener.
Wait, we got Ted again?
No, I don't think we have Ted this time. Excuse me. I don't have any listeners, but that's fine. So I'm used to hearing myself talk.
We have to gamify this. We're you know, winner, chicken dinner is going to get a bottle of whiskey.
Hey, for the second one, I think we did pretty good. We have a lot to say, or I do at least.
I like it. I think we.
But I don't know what I want. Can I please circle back? What I want to come back before we get onto this even. I for some reason that the idea of this AR thing really sat with me tonight, talking about how that's possibly the next kind of jump in that, right? I know that everyone's going so bullish on this metaverse idea, but I think that's going to be more of a joke until it's really fully fleshed out. And I think there's got to be that baby step in
built
between.
out. It's got to be built, man.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If you use that Ready Player One model where it's like that's what it's going to be, right? Where it's just everything is like think of the internet in the metaverse. Like that's the way. Like, and they were saying right now it's, you know, when the internet started, it was all these disparate websites, right? And you couldn't get from one to the other. Well, that's like the metaverse now, right? You have all these different things built out, right? Well, what happens when it all gets put into one continent, let's say? And all of a sudden you can go from my thing to your thing to his thing to that thing, changing this, changing that, you know, going to the McDonald's, going here. Once it all becomes, but that's a big leap, right? That's a leap forward. Now, in the meantime, maybe get there, it's AR-based stuff where it's like, dude, we're gonna project your clothes onto, you know, you pick the clothes you want. It's gonna be, the other people are gonna see what you're wearing based on what you purchased, right? It's a digital representation of that, right?
Yeah,
and
Eric,
when you go when you go into the mall or you go into Times Square, man. You're gonna see billboards that are focused only for your eyes.
At a ski area, dude. That's where I was this couple months ago. Like
and really, that's an easy conversion because it's an easy conversion because it's already out of home space, right? You literally, and it's green screen technology. Really, it's just it's what you see honestly, it's what you see at sporting events, right? When you see the boards like behind the dugout, behind home plate, those are all green screen projected things through the television. Okay. Yeah. So what if you're seeing it specifically to your eye? They can track it that way. So now all of a sudden I'm watching a baseball game on, whether I'm in let's say I'm in the stadium even. Okay. I'm in the stadium, but instead of what I'm looking at that green, billboard behind home plate, it's projecting into my eyes what it wants me to see.
I'm surprised Google hasn't hooked that up yet.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they're probably working on it.
You tried with those Google glasses. I mean, I never got a
pair. The problem is they can't get this technology in place yet.
Kind of the rest of the world, but
man, good stuff. I got to get going, boys.
Well, let's wrap this up. Hold on. AMCCO, over 35% of online payments are crypto and digital.
Is that of the 5 people going to the movie theater?
Thoughts, comments?
What is that of the 5 people that are going to the movie theater?
Is that for real?
That's for real.
Blockworks.
Well, hold on. That's what crypto and what does digital mean? I don't know if I like what's
digital.
Is digital? Digital means like credit card, like transaction?
That means your credit card's in your Apple Pay.
Okay, so there you go. So some sort of, which is fine, Apple Pay, right?
I mean, I feel like that's getting halfway there to crypto.
Okay.
By the dip.
I already bought.
The Tuttles, I love it. I could hear him screaming.
I'm not a
screaming. Good old Paul Senior.
Yeah.
Love it.
Are you guys buying?
That's what I said today.
Are you going to buy the dip?
No, because I'm cheap. Okay. But and wait, they always hold on to the. Oh my God, Bitcoin is going to dump all these guys. Is that what you're saying? or is the analogy that Bitcoin controls all that?
Bitcoin control. Yeah, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, none of these would even exist, right? So
she's about to pull the gate.
She opened the gate; they're all going to fall out. So Bitcoin holds the keys. If Bitcoin is the key, is what I guess it's saying. If Bitcoin drops, they're all done.
Yeah.
If it all drops out, though, the technology is still there.
It's a crypto crash. Just right.
You can't tell that's just pure rice.
Oh man, yeah, that's all that's left.
Yeah, that one got me. That
looks like me. I don't know. Portfolio gone. Yeah. But that's like, and again, it's like this is like that idea of not understanding it, and it's like it's inevitable that these things are going to happen. I mean, this goes back to, I mean, and this is the fear of any kind of tech stock or tech company, right? I think it's fear of the unknown, right? I don't know it, so I'm expecting it to crash. And you know what? A lot of people want it to crash because they want to prove themselves right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they're saying, "Well, I don't trust that stuff. I hope it," and they're just like literally waiting for it to crash. So
there's a lot of trolls and haters right now. It's pretty bad.
And I think that that's foolish because it's like it's not about the things; it's about the technology.
Well, and anybody who's wishing for other people's I like
astrology.
Astrology.
It's all popped up by that stuff.
Yeah.
Again, if you can't understand it, you don't belong in it.
Exactly. That's the moral of the story.
Right? That's the moral.
Collective consciousness. Oh my gosh.
Well, Jen, it's been interesting. It's been real.
It's been fun.
Until next week with more fodder. What should we talk about next week?
I never drink this much.
Did we touch on metaverse today enough or no?
Really, I think so. We touched on metaverse.
I'm gonna look into more about the Google Glass and the glasses because that's actually very fascinating to me.
Oh, it's so cool. You should check out how Meta has gotten into eyeglasses contract with this big corporation.
I'm going to look that up. I want to dig into that because that's very interesting to me. Because I feel like that's such a next step. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're doing it. They just opened their first store, man.
Yeah, interesting. Very fascinating. Well, good job, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, listener, for if we have one. I know we had one caught in late there, but if we have more, that's even great. Thank you guys for keeping it up, and we promise to get more production value, and maybe an intro and an outro. We need a jingle.
We do. We need more content. We need some content.
Whiskey Wednesday.
Yeah, Whiskey Wednesday show.
Whiskey Wednesday.
All right.
Right.
Have a good night.